There's so many things I want to tell you. First of all, that last piece, Symphony No. 3 by Giannini, it has been very much a work in progress for us. And it was something that initially I intended for us to be able to do the entire symphony, which is a huge work. It's a huge amount of music, and it's one of the staples in the band repertoire. And we read a little bit of the other movements, and it just kind of became obvious to me that it wasn't the right fit. Sometimes it's not the right fit for the group or for the time, and so I kind of called an audible on them. And I came back after the winter break in January and told them that we were only going to do movement 4 and that I had something else planned. And that something else is the next piece, which I'll tell you about in a minute. You will hear another movement from that same piece of music, that same symphony, with the Miami Symphony Band. So I was really excited when I learned that they were performing that piece and that movement. So we'll get a chance to hear a little bit more of that music. But that leads me to this final piece, and I want to tell you a little bit about the piece itself and why I chose to play it. First of all, the title, Give Us This Day. Many of you would know that from the Lord's Prayer. And it's an interesting way that David Maslanka came about writing this piece. He says in the score that it actually has more of a Buddhist influence than anything related to Christianity or anything along those lines. Maslanka was a very spiritual person. I say was because we lost David Maslanka this past August. He passed away, and when that news came to me, it was very evident that I wanted to try and do something of Maslanka's. We've never played a piece of his music before. I've always held it as very, very lofty, very challenging, and certainly very important music. So I've never programmed Maslanka before, but I felt like this was the time to do that. So we came back from winter break, and I had been listening to a lot, and I just discovered this piece in December. And something about it just spoke to me. It fit the group, it fit our strengths, and it gave us a chance to be expressive, and gave us a chance to be emotional and tell a story. And that's what this is about. My story, if I can get personal with you for a moment, I share this with the students, but I bring a lot of emotion into this music myself, and I try to think about a personal experience. So I'll try to get through this, but we had to say goodbye to our family pet about a month ago, actually. Molly was a yellow lab. We had her for 14 years. We had her before we got married, before we had kids. We bought her in Texas, and we lived in Texas, and she's been all over with us. She's been with us for everything. And we had already been working on this piece, but as I was listening to it more and more after we said goodbye to Molly, it made a lot more sense to me that the piece is really about pain and agony, but it also has moments of joy and moments of hopefulness. And it allows you to think fondly about memories from the past. So I brought that story to the students and shared that with them. And as I play it, I think of Molly, I think of my family, I think of the good times with my kids and our family pet. And anybody who's had a family pet, you can attest to that. Also, as we were working on this piece, current events played a role. And we were all pretty struck by the tragic events that happened in Florida at Parkland, Florida at Stoneman Douglas High School. And I brought to the students the idea of what if this was the last day that you had? How would you approach that? Or how would you approach it if you didn't know it was going to be the last day that you had? That's some pretty lofty stuff, some pretty heavy stuff. So we've been dealing with a lot of that. We've been talking a lot about that. And I think it's really important to know that music has that power. It has the ability to speak to people on many, many levels. Myself personally, people that we've never met before. And when we bring that emotion to the music, we hope to convey that to our audience, and we hope to do what David Maslanka intended in the piece. At the very end of the piece, you'll hear a chorale by J.S. Bach, and when that moment comes, you will know that the end is here. It is the final words of the Lord's Prayer, and this is our gift to you. It's our gift to David Maslanka, and our tribute to those that have been through tragedy and have been through pain and can find hope through all of that. Thank you very much. Thank you.